Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Freddy, and this video is just gonna be a very casual video about books, and I'm just gonna talk about what I have read so far, what I am currently reading, and maybe talk a little bit about my recent haul. So it's just going to be a really random bookish video, and yeah, I'm just going to talk about some books, you know, in so on the books that I've already finished this week. I'm happy to say that I finished two books, and the first one is Proulx, the shipping news. I think I made a video on this one, and I think this book is an incredible book. And I am so blessed that I have read this book because it's really awesome. So, this book is about a man who is starting a new life somewhere, someplace he has never been to before. And I think that this book was really inspiring. And moving on, I also finished reading this one by a Zimbabwean author. It's called We Need New Names, and the author is NoViolet Bulawayo. And this book is also really wonderful, and I just love the way that the narrator tells the story. It's basically a story about a girl named Darling who is from Zimbabwe. So this book is just Darling talking about her life when she was in Zimbabwe, her life as a child, and how her life is as a teenager after she moved to Detroit, Michigan. And this book is about the immigrant experience, and I think it gives a really nice perspective on, especially on how a child character see things, and I think that's really wonderful, and I really enjoyed it. And so, on the books that I'm currently reading right now, actually, I have four books that I would consider as my current reads. The first one is a book that I have been read that I have actually read the most of all of these four books, and this one is Fugitive Pieces by Anne Michaels. So when I first started reading this book, before that I was actually quite interested in it. But when I first got into this book, I thought that the prose was a little bit difficult to get into. I thought that it was somewhat elusive, and probably because Anne Michaels is a poet, it might explain why some of the prose just seem kind of poetic in a way, kind of difficult to follow. And so I thought maybe I am not going to really like this novel. And this novel is definitely not going to be a novel that I read during lunchtime, right? And guess what? Today is Monday, and when I went to work today, I actually brought this book because as I read it, I find myself really captivated by the prose, and it actually became much easier to follow as I read more. So that was great, and I actually enjoyed it while I was reading at work, even though I was kind of tired today, but I managed to progress a little bit. And as you can see here, I have tabs. I'm starting to try, having tabs, because sometimes, lately, I realized that there are times I find something really interesting in a book, and but I won't do any marking. I don't do any highlighting. I certainly never did any tabbing before, so it would be quite difficult for me to find that particular thing, particular gem that I discovered. So I just kind of want to try out doing this tabbing thingy, kind of like a new habit of some sort, and hopefully it works out. I think so far I have at least like 5 tabs in Fugitive Pieces, just random passages that I find kind of interesting. So yeah, that's the thing about tapping. My first new experience. I'm a total noob on tabbing. So this month I also want to read this Malaysian novel. Last month I read Shiliko's The Sum of Our Follies, and this month I want to read The Morning Post by Samad Said. And I think this author is one of those that can be considered as a pretty prominent Malaysian author. So I think it's quite interesting that to get into this book. I think that the blurb is really interesting. This book seems to be about a journalist who seems to be hallucinating about starting his own newspaper company, and it's not like every day you hear about people hallucinating about having a newspaper agency and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a really nice premise. And I have also started reading this Pulitzer Prize winning novel, A Visit to A Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan. This one has a large cast of characters. I've actually not read a lot into this book, only I think to the second chapter so far. I've just started reading this book, and it seems to have music as a common theme in here. Apparently, I think the characters are related to the music scene, music industry in some ways. I think that's probably what's it about. Beyond that, I'm not exactly sure. But I also am not interested in researching more about this book before I read it. So I'm just gonna read this one first and surprise myself. And last but not least, this week I also started a buddy read with one booktuber, Sue. Her channel is Sue Tan, and we are reading The Inheritance of Loss by Kirai Desai. This book was a Booker Prize winner, and I think that it's one of those books that I have a good vibe, when it comes to the way that the book looks at you, and you just feel kind of happy in some way. I'm not sure if this book is going to be a good one, but hopefully it is. Hopefully I'm gonna enjoy it. And as usual, as per my normal habit, I don't really read too deeply into this blurb. So safe to say, I literally do not know what the Inheritance of Loss is about. So yeah, I'm just gonna be honest. I do not know what it's about, and I do not want to know. So those are the books that I am currently reading. Now on to the books that I have bought lately. And I actually have bought quite a number of books, quite a big number of books. But I'm not going to talk about all of those books. Rather, I'm going to just talk about a few of them, because some of those books I actually put them on the shelf at different places already, and I'm not really interested in like digging each of those books like one by one and identify which are the books that I bought, because there are a lot and it's going to make this video superbly long. So I am not going to do that. I want to say though, lately I have been buying new books. I seldom buy new books because they tend to be more expensive. Of course, buying new books mean that you're gonna have a really pristine copy of books, which is quite nice. But usually I don't do that. However, lately I've been buying new books for various reasons, and I'm just gonna talk about those weird, ridiculous reasons. And for the first few books, for the first couple of books that I bought, the reason was incredibly shallow, and it's because I thought that the cover looked incredible. And I think I mentioned, like, in a few videos ago, I think it was the mid-year book freakout tag, where I mentioned about a book that looked really beautiful, and I showed you guys this book, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norell by Susanna Clarke, the Bloomsbury Modern Classics edition. That looked amazing with the design cover, and the artwork is really incredible also. I really love how it looked, and because this is a collection, you can say that all the other books in this collection would have the similar design as well. And you know how it is. I like having beautiful stuff on my shelf, and so I actually ended up getting two books. One is by William Boyd. This one is called Restless, and this is a spy novel. And the other one is quite, I would say, a book that a lot of people in BookTube talk about. It's Madeline Miller, and it's called The Song of Achilles. And I thought that these artworks look very beautiful, and I am really happy that I actually bought these. So those two books were actually something I bought from an independent local bookstore online, and those were new books. I also bought new books from a physical store, and I actually went to the mall and got these books at different times, because sometimes, maybe I, during my free time, in the weekends, I would actually just stroll in the mall and stop by the bookstore, because sometimes, just going to the bookstore kind of makes me feel more relaxed. Sometimes I would be so relaxed that I would be inclined to purchase some books. But anyway, I was quite happy with the books that I bought. The first one is a book that has a really quirky cover. It's Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, and I presume it's about a convenience store woman. And when I went to the store to get this book, the store actually has altogether three variants of this cover, and I thought that was really cute. There was this yellow one which I got, and there was also the pink one and the light blue one. And I didn't see the light blue one, but I only saw it on my second visit to the store after I bought this yellow one. So I'm really interested to read this book. I've heard people say nice things about this. It does seem to have that quirky vibe to it, and it is something that piqued my interest. Another thing that piqued my interest was this book by Olga Tokarczuk, Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead. And this one was something that that intrigued me, because it's about a woman in a remote Polish village, apparently. At least that's what the blurb says. And there are murders, or at least dead people. I think, I'm not sure whether they are murders, but those alone kind of made that book feel really intriguing. And last but not least, the final new book that I bought was a book that I bought because of BookTube and Bookstagram to a certain extent, but I blame BookTube for the most part, and that is Sally Rooney's Normal People. And yeah, I'm not sure what to say about this. There was tons of hype about this one, and I caved. I absolutely caved, and I've never done that before. So yeah, I'm putting all of the blame on BookTube for this one. So aside from the new books, I also bought used books as usual because I love buying used books, and I actually found a few new bookseller online. One of it was a bookseller from Facebook, and I was really glad to have found that because I actually got of all of the things that I bought that day, I got these. So the first book that I got was Waiting by Mahajan. And this year I actually read In the Pond by Mahajan, but this was actually the book that I really wanted to read. This book won the National Book Award, and it is a psychological fiction with elements of romance in it, and yeah, I can't wait to read this book. I thought In the Pond was okay, so I have better expectation about this one. And the next book that I got is something you could probably consider as a classic. I've always wanted to read this book, but for whatever reason, I seldom see it in physical stores. So yeah, when I saw this book on that particular Facebook-based bookseller, I was really happy. It's Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, and yeah, I finally got this one. I can't wait. I am literally very excited about this. Next are actually books that I purchased from a site that I usually go to whenever I want to get used bookstore. No, used bookstore. Used books. It's called Books and Bobs, and I just want to say I am really happy that I found this Alan Hollinghurst, The Line of Beauty. Now, for some whatever reason, I don't know why. I just want to try this book. I've kind of tasted a little bit of his writing before at a library. I wanted to read more, but then again, the library was really cold at the time, and I was really sleepy, so I ended up not reading much. I can't even remember what I read. It was quite a while ago, and so this book was one of the books that won the Booker Prize. So I thought maybe I could just officially start with this one first. And yeah, again, I have good vibes about this one. I'm not sure why I feel that way. Maybe because it has a gay main character. I don't know. Yeah, there's so many reasons. Or there could be no reasons at all. But yeah, good find. So recently I've also been starting to kind of, want to try reading something slightly different than a novel. Not a non-fiction though, because that is, totally different. But I wouldn't mind going to non-fiction sometime in the future. But but I have started to read, a little bit of plays, and one of the plays that I got was A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams, and this one is a tragedy. And another one that I also got another play which I think is very famous. It's Arthur Miller's The Crucible, and I think this one is not very happy as well. But I'm really excited to start on these ones because it actually has been quite a while since I read a play, for entertainment. I think the last one that I read was Lady Windermere's Fan, but that was a long, long time ago. So I would love to, uh, you know, read plays again. And and I also discovered one app where you can buy things. It's called Carousel, and that is an app where you can actually like sell stuff. You know, users can sell used items or new items, doesn't matter. And the way that the transaction happens is that you could either pay and they will deliver it to you, or you could pay it through the website, or you could pay it directly to the seller. However, the item is going to be like being sold to you, and then after you do the payment, you can actually like meet the person, you know, in person and get the item, or you can have the item delivered. You know, again, it depends on how the seller wants to carry out the transaction. But anyway, I was really happy that I actually found this book. I've always been interested in reading this book, and so I was surprised to see this book in that app, Carousel. It's Evening is the Whole Day by Preeta Samarasan, and this one is a book written by a Malaysian author. And this book is, I think it's a family saga about an Indian family in Malaysia. And I think I'm probably going to include this one in, you know, part of my Read More Malaysian project. So more materials for that. I'm really excited. I actually got some other Malaysian books as well. So yeah, I am hoping that, you know, I'm going to have more materials for that. Hopefully more great material for that. So I would be really sad if I were to end up reading bad books or books that are not fun. Anyway, yeah, I guess those are some of the bookish related stuff that has been like kind of like happening to me lately. So other than that, I don't think that there are anything else like really major that has happened. I mean, it's just work as usual, and yeah, I would say that's all. As you can see, my life is pretty boring. I don't have much stuff to talk about. Uh, so, well, I have been cooking, and I post some of the photos on Instagram, but not as posts, not as feed, but more like stories. And yeah, I've been actually for dinner just now, I made rice noodle kway teow with some curry, but I used instant curry because I was too lazy. You know, I was actually too hungry, and so it wouldn't make sense for me to make curry from scratch. And I also included some blanched bok choy, which was literally bok choy I put inside, you know, cook inside hot water, and that's it. But it tasted nice, and I had that with soy milk, so that was great. But I couldn't finish them all, so I kept a portion of that, and you know, for my next meal. So yeah, I guess that's the most recent interesting thing that happened. And if you are interested to know how to cook this stuff, I don't know, you can just like talk to me or something. And yeah, I guess that's it. And so I'll see you again in another video. I think it's going to be a book review, or maybe just a random talk about books or writing, or maybe not. I mean, I don't even know. So yeah, until then, I hope everyone take care, and I'll see you again. Bye bye.